All right, let's talk about one of the biggest, most fundamental questions in tech today. You build something new, where does it go? Which cloud should it run on? It sounds like such a simple question, right? But believe me, getting this wrong can create massive headaches for your business. So today, we're going to break down how to get it right every single time.
Okay, so just imagine this for a second. Your team has been working for months, they've just built this incredible new application, the code's ready, everyone's buzzing with excitement, and then it hits you. The big question: where do we actually deploy this thing? Where is it going to live? AWS, Azure, GCP, maybe even back on-prem? For so many teams, this is that moment of truth. And, it is so tempting to just take the path of least resistance, right? Let's just, pick the cloud our team knows best, or maybe the one that's giving us the biggest discount this quarter. But that easy answer, it almost always leads to long-term pain. We're talking hidden costs that pop up later, slow performance that drives users crazy, and honestly, just burnt out, frustrated teams. The right way to think about this is to see it for what it is. It's not just a tech choice, it's a strategic business decision, and getting it right is what leads to real efficiency and speed.
And why is it so strategic? Well, because this decision goes way beyond just servers and databases. Where you decide to place your application, it gets woven into the very fabric of your business. Seriously, it starts to dictate your team structures, how you allocate your budget, even who you hire. These early choices, they're like pouring concrete. They create these deep, deep roots, and trying to pull them up and move them later, it is incredibly difficult and very expensive. So what kind of costs are we really talking about here? Well, the tricky part is they're often hidden at first. You don't see them right away. But we've all heard the horror stories, haven't we? Those data egress fees that just spiral out of control because your app is constantly talking to services in another cloud. Or the application having just terrible performance because it's sitting on the other side of the planet from its data. Or, and this is a big one, you realize way too late that your team isn't actually trained to operate the app in that new environment, which opens up huge security and resilience gaps. A bad call here really does echo across the entire organization.
Okay, so how do we avoid all this chaos? The good news is there's a way. What we need is a repeatable process, a playbook that cuts through the noise and brings some real clarity to this super complex choice. And that's exactly what this framework is. Think of it like a GPS for your cloud decisions. It's designed to make sure you land in the right spot every single time. And here it is. It's a straightforward 6-step framework. First, we analyze the workload itself. Then, we follow the data. After that, we take a hard look at our team's skills. Step 4 is checking for any compliance blockers. 5 is modeling the real cost. And finally, step 6 is making sure it all lines up with the bigger company strategy. So let's dive in and unpack what each of these really means. You see, the real magic of this framework isn't just the steps themselves. It's that each step forces you and your team to stop and ask a set of really critical questions before you commit to anything. It's all about being deliberate, thoughtful, and making a choice that you can actually stand behind because you know you've looked at it from every angle. All right, first up, the workload. Step 1. And look, it's not enough to just know what your app does. You have to understand how it needs to do it. Is this thing super sensitive to latency? Is it going to be churning through massive, massive volumes of data? And what's the actual impact if it goes down for, say, 5 minutes? These details, the non-functional requirements, they are often the true differentiators that point you to the right answer.
Okay, next up, step 2. And honestly, this one is huge. We have to talk about the data. There's this concept called data gravity, and it's a powerful force. The idea is that data has mass, and it literally pulls applications and services towards it. Trying to move petabytes of data across the country, or worse, between different clouds, it's slow, it's risky, and it is incredibly expensive. 9 times out of 10, the smartest move you can make is to bring your application to the data, not the other way around. Step 3 brings in the all-important human element. Let's be real for a second. You can design the most beautiful, elegant, perfect architecture on paper. But if your team doesn't actually have the skills to build it, deploy it, and support it in production, it's going to fail. It's that simple. So this is a really critical reality check. Do we have the expertise on hand right now, or are we unknowingly committing ourselves to a massive training and hiring effort down the line? All right, the last 3 steps, 4, 5, and 6, are really about putting on your business hat. It's the final reality check. First, compliance. Are there any absolute deal breakers? We're talking hard blockers like data residency laws in Europe that might just make the decision for you. Second, cost. And I don't just mean the sticker price. We need to look past the monthly bill and really model the long-term cost, including sneaky things like data transfer fees. And finally, strategy. Does this choice actually align with where the company is headed? Does it fit with our key vendor relationships and long-term goals?
Okay, so that's the theory. It's a great framework, but let's see how this thing actually works in the real world. Let's put the playbook into action. We're going to walk through a pretty common scenario, making a decision for a brand new analytics service. So here's the setup. We're building a new customer analytics service. Now, there are a couple of key requirements we have to hit. First, it's got to be fast for users in both Europe and North America. Low latency is key. And second, it needs to chew on these massive data sets that importantly are already sitting inside of Cloud A. This is a classic problem, a really common type of project you see all the time. Okay, and this table just lays out the trade-offs perfectly. Let's break this down factor by factor. First, data gravity. Remember, we said the data is already in Cloud A. Moving it would be a total nightmare, so that's a huge check mark for Cloud A. Next, latency. It has to be fast in the EU and North America. Well, it turns out both Cloud A and Cloud B have a great presence there, so that's a wash. It's neutral. Now, things get interesting with team skills. The team is actually stronger with Cloud B's tools, so that's a point against Cloud A. But it's a gap we think we can close with some training. But here it is, the knockout punch, the deciding factor right at the bottom. Regulations. We must meet specific EU data residency rules, and it turns out Cloud A is the only one with the certified data centers we need. That's a hard requirement. It's a non-starter for Cloud B. And just like that, the decision becomes crystal clear. Even with the skills gap, the 1-2 punch of data gravity and compliance makes Cloud A the only logical choice. You see how that works? Making one good, clear decision is fantastic. But the real goal here, the thing we should all be aiming for, is to make every decision a smart one. And that means turning this way of thinking into a repeatable habit, a core part of your culture where you document your choices and you actually learn from them over time. And this brings me to a really critical point. Please remember this. The objective is not to use as many clouds as possible just so you can slap a multi-cloud sticker on your slide deck. That's not the goal. The goal is to use the right cloud for the right job at the right time. Multi-cloud is a tool in your toolbox. It's a means to an end. It is not the end itself. So how do you actually make this process repeatable and part of your DNA? Well, there's a fantastic, simple tool for this. It's called an Architecture Decision Record, or an ADR. And before you groan, don't worry. This is not some massive 50-page bureaucratic document. An ADR is super simple. It's a lightweight file that just captures the why behind a decision. What was the problem? What were our options? And why ultimately did we choose the path we did? I'm telling you, documenting your decisions like this is a total superpower for your team. Why? Because it stops you from having the exact same argument 6 months from now when a new person joins and asks why you did things a certain way. It creates this amazing knowledge base for future teams to learn from. And, so importantly, it makes it super easy to go back and review a decision when things change, like when a cloud provider suddenly changes their pricing. It basically turns a one-time conversation into a durable, valuable asset for the company. And that really brings us to the final, crucial point I want to leave you with. The next time you're faced with a deployment decision, just pause and ask your team this one question. Are we making a quick and easy choice right now that's just going to create hidden friction for us down the road? Or are we taking a moment to think strategically, to use a framework like this one, to build real, lasting value for the business? At the end of the day, that choice is yours.